Welcome to the Spiro Podcast, managing your real estate photography and videography business. With your hosts, Todd Kivimaki and Craig Magrum.
Hi, and welcome to the Spiro Podcast, managing your real estate photography and videography business. Spiro is a software platform to help you manage your real estate photo and video business and really help you maximize the business of your business. And my name is Craig Magrum. I'm the business development and client care specialist for Spiro and host of the Spiro Podcast. And with me, as always, is Spiro's owner and founder and co-host of the Spiro Podcast, Todd Kivimaki. Hey, good to see you again, Todd.
Great to be here, Craig. Excited for another exciting episode today.
Yeah. So this is going to be a part 2 of a series that we started last week on networking with realtors one-on-one. For lack of a better word, the sales process, how to build your clientele, how to meet realtors. And our guest last week was Larry Lauder. He's the business development specialist for Wow Video Tours, Charlotte, North Carolina market. And Larry was a good guy, just very laid back, had a lot of really good information to share that was, Larry just seems one of those low pressure, organic relationship type of guys.
Yeah, Craig, he definitely gave us some good tips about building relationships, overcoming objections, and just building relationships as well. So definitely worth a listen if you haven't heard it, and some good tips and some gold in there from Larry.
Yeah, a couple of the things that he was talking about too is talking about that organic relationship building is joining groups, being a part of the community, and being a part of a cause that you really believe in. And one thing I really respect about Larry is his advocacy and involvement in groups for mental health, promoting just good, solid mental health. And he's made a lot of great connections just in his community in Charlotte through that. So, finding something you're passionate about and getting involved in those business relationships kind of just happen as a side effect. You're not even you're not doing it for the business relationship, but it just happens because we live in community with each other.
Exactly. Find the why, and you will find motivation. You'll find passion, and you'll find that you can really connect with other individuals out there, and that's what it's all about.
Right. So the whole subject of building your business, finding clientele, finding realtors to work with, it's whenever you talk about sales or business development, that's not a small conversation. And so we knew we couldn't cover it all as much as Larry was able to share with us. We couldn't cover it all in one episode. So we wanted to do another episode here and bring in Chris Vogue. Chris is another one of our Wow Video Tour business development specialists in our Columbus market. And hey, welcome, Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, really excited to have Chris on the conversation today. So Chris has a lot of experience in the real estate industry. So real estate, mortgages, has just worked a lot of years in the industry, has been with us for many years, and super excited, very talented with building relationships with our clients. And I'm just excited to continue this conversation today to get a little insight as to how Chris works and builds those relationships every day. So to dive right in here on our first thought today is cold calls. Now, this is everybody's most favorite thing to do. Just kidding. But there is a strategy, and we actually talk about this quite a bit. I know Chris has some great insight. So Chris, cold calls, and this is no warm introduction. This is a cold call. What's your strategy? What do you say? How do you proceed to find that little niche or nook where you can build a relationship off of sometimes interrupting an individual or just being taken back by surprise?
Yeah, the reality of it is, and you're going to kind of see a theme here with me, is I like to keep things pretty simple and pretty straightforward. So cold calling is exactly that. You're just reaching out to an agent. The one thing you need to understand, though, is these agents should need your services. If they don't, that is what it is. But the reality is they need your services, and chances are they're using somebody else's services as well. So it's not like you're calling them up and saying, "Hey, you could save hundreds on your car insurance," and people are going to get mad and things like that. You're literally calling them up, and I just say, "Hey, this is Chris with Wow Video Tours. I just wanted to reach out to you. Did I catch you at a good time?" So that's the first thing I always ask is, did I catch you at a good time? And then the idea is, you do give them an opportunity to kind of say, no, but you also don't, if they're in the middle of showing homes or something like that, you don't want to talk over them and kind of annoy them. So, at that point in time, if they do say no, then you just say, oh, I'm sorry, I'll let you go. When would be a better time to call? And then, chances are they give you a time, call me today at 4:30 or call me tomorrow, or whatever the case may be. And whatever they tell you to do, then just, make sure you make that call. If from there they just say, no, I've got a few minutes or whatever the case may be, just say, hey, listen, again, I'm with Wow. We're a real estate photo and video company, and I just wanted to see, who do you use for your real estate marketing services, and then just let them talk. And it's really that simple. A lot of times they'll tell you who they're using, or they'll tell you, like I said, I do it myself, and things along those lines. And just like I said, keep it simple, keep it straightforward. From there, once they've kind of shared some things with you, at that point in time, I typically just kind of go straight into like, hey, I'd love to show you what we can do and possibly earn their business. Would there be a good time, this week or next week, where we can maybe get together? I'll buy you a cup of coffee, and I can show you some of our services and go over what we do, and then just see how they respond.
What kind of response do you normally get on that, Chris? I mean, are realtors generally pretty open to a cold call like that, or do you find more resistance?
So yeah, I mean, the truth of the matter is there's going to be some that, that everybody goes into cold calling like they're afraid of it because like all these people are going to be mad at me or whatever. And you'll come across that, but that is really a small percentage. Most people the worst you're going to run into is they're going to be like, hey, no, thank you. I'm good. I'm happy with who I have. I'll keep you in mind for future or whatever the case may be. So typically your worst rejection is just no, thank you. They're pleasant, and then they just kind of let you go on with your day. And usually, so the same thing there. If somebody says, I'm good with who I have or who I'm working with, or I don't have time, I'll just typically, end that call and say, I appreciate that. If it's okay with you, I'll touch base in 4 or 5 months or 3 months or whatever the time frame is based on the conversation we had. If they're like, I want to talk, but I'm busy, then it'll be, hey, okay, I'll give you a call in 3 weeks or whatever the case may be. But the reality of it is, I mean, I'm going to be honest, there's going to be certain realtors that are going to, not necessarily be the most polite, or they might get rude with you, but they are very few and far between. And usually to me, I kind of hang up with that call and just be like, oh, what kind of day were they having? It's less about you and more about them. So the truth of the matter is usually the worst rejection you get is just no, thank you. And they understand. So again, you're not making that true, just I'm just a call center just blasting phone numbers. You're making a dedicated phone call to somebody that needs services that you can provide. And so they look at that a little bit different.
I think I've done sales in my background too, and the thing I had to learn was don't take it personally.
Yeah. Typically, if somebody gets rude with you, because that's what everybody's afraid of. They're afraid someone's going to get mad and get rude with me. It's one of two things. Either they're just a rude person and you don't want to work with them anyway, or you caught them at a bad point in life or their day or whatever the case may be. It really, it just doesn't have anything to do with you. As long as you're straightforward and polite to them, 99% of the time, it's just going to be either, yeah, let's talk, or no, thank you, but a polite no, thank you.
Good advice. So say it's the opposite situation. You have a warm referral or a warm introduction from another client that you have that has said, hey, I need to tell this realtor about you as well. How do you handle that initial conversation with this new realtor or possible new client that you have a warm introduction to? What's the difference between the two approaches?
Not a ton of difference. I would just say the biggest thing. So again, I would call up, introduce myself, and then ask if I caught them at a good time. And then instead of just saying, hey, I wanted to reach out, I would say, Craig Magrum told me that you might be in search of some help with your real estate marketing, and I just wanted to see who you use for your real estate, photo and video services and things like that. So it doesn't change too much, other than you're just kind of throwing that name drop in there, which will. It will kind of be like, oh, well, Craig told me to call you. Okay, yeah, it opens it up, lightens it up a little bit. So, but same basic approach, really.
Yeah, it's nice to have that tee up though from.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's definitely it's easier and there's a little less stress. But again, it's all just kind of a straightforward approach. So get them talking.
Yeah.
So, Chris, once you've made that call or made those blocks of calls and received a yes to sit down, what's your strategy at that sit down appointment? Because this might be something that some of our viewers are not used to, sitting down in this sales appointment. What's your strategy?
Well, I think the biggest thing is you have to look at, like what you just said, a sales appointment. Because sales is not, a lot of people I think envision sales being, I'm going to convince you want something. And that's not really what sales is about. So that, first of all, kind of walk into it with that approach. It's not about, I'm going to convince you something. It's about, I'm going to learn about you and then figure out from there. So the way I always start my appointments, or my meetings with realtors is just literally start talking with them, just to get to know them. So, obviously, I'll start with something very mundane. Just, how's your day been going? If it's like it is right now, is this heat killing you like it is me? Whatever. It doesn't have to be super crazy. It's just something to get them to start talking. Once you get them talking a little bit, then you slide into business. And same thing, instead of going in there and go, hey, I wanted to tell you about all these things we do, because you could be telling them something they don't care about. You ask them questions and you get to learn about them. So I'll typically will go into, tell me a little bit. And some of these I might know the answers to, because, if you do a little research, you'll know how long and they just been in the business and things like that. But I'll still ask the question and get them talking. It's like, how long have you been in the business? How did you get started? What has been your strategy? Who do you typically pull where do you pull your clients from, and kind of get them talking? And the idea behind it is you want to learn about how they work and what their process is. From there. So a lot of times, and that's just it, a lot of times this conversation, it then just flows organically. You're having a conversation. They're going to tell you why they got started in the business. They're going to tell you how it happened. They're going to tell you, I pull from my sphere of influence, or I do a lot of advertising, or whatever the case may be. So they're going to give you a lot of these details. And the key is, again, with sales, it's not about convincing them of something. The key is just kind of listen and absorb that information, because, you typically have multiple products you can look at or choose from. And so the idea is they're going to be telling you certain things that you're going to go, photography would work great for this person, or they would want to do, a video with them in it, whatever the case may be. They'll be actually giving you these details in that conversation. So, and then typically from there, after, I learn a little bit about them, learn a little bit about how they got started and how they do their business. Then I go into, how do you market yourself and your listings? And the key there is to try and understand both themselves and the listings, because you can go in there, from a basic standpoint, you can go in there and shoot their listings. But on the same hand, if you have other capabilities, there are other opportunities that you can look at that getting them to kind of talk a little bit more about what they do could open up. We've got videos where the agents are in the videos and the house itself. So if they kind of in that conversation talk about things like that, then that's something you could look into. So it's just a matter of, like I said, don't go in with an agenda to try and convince them of something. Go in with the understanding is, I want to learn about this person and figure out how they operate, and then see what I have that can help them.
Yeah, that's so valuable, Chris. And I've heard you say the same theme in your description about the cold call or the warm call, and then also the presentation. But you're basically just asking the question. And then as my older brother taught me, he's like, just shut up, just don't say anything, because it's there. It sounds like there's gold in the response, and the realtors are very open to giving that information. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so same thing. Most realtors, got into the business because they enjoy building relationships, and they enjoy, they enjoy talking and things along those lines. So again, going back to you don't want to have the agenda of, and you don't have the agenda of like, this is what I'm going to do. And you want to actually listen to what they're saying instead of going, oh, they said this, so let me think of my comeback. You actually just keep, it's a conversation. You're just learning about them. And yeah, you're right. The reality of it is they will talk, and they'll tell you, chances are they'll tell you more than you, than you thought would happen. And a lot of times in these conversations, you might go in there thinking, I'm gonna talk to them about our photo and video services, and then they come up and they say, I really want to do this, or I really want to do that, or I do this myself, but I don't do a very good job. And all of a sudden they could be like, they could introduce to you, wow, we have this product that would be perfect for that. And then you literally shift gears, because it's like, I was going to talk about one thing, but they just lined up something else where I'm going to talk about this instead. So the key is really to just listen to what they have to say and get a true understanding of how they do their business.
Yeah, that makes it easy to to slide into that conversation of, okay, here's how we can help with that and help you reach those goals that you've got that you just told us about. And at least when I was doing this, when I had my company, at that point the conversation got fun. Because the energy just starts building. You're kind of dreaming together of, oh, here's where we could take this, and you're showing your passion for what you do. And I mean, who doesn't want to work with somebody that loves their job? So as you're getting excited presenting to them, hey, here's how we can help you with what you just talked about. I'm imagining then the next part is then in the traditional sales phrases, asking for the sale, going for the close. So you've done that needs analysis. You've discovered what their goals are, what they need, and you've shared some of your solutions. Then how do you get into that last part of the conversation then, in asking for the opportunity to work with and for them?
Yeah, I mean, the close is easy, because the reality of it is you talked about, you go into the solutions. The big thing I always do is I always have examples of everything we do. So so WOW does a pretty large plethora of products. Now you might just have photo and video, or you may have different other areas that you can operate in, but again, based on that conversation, I'll have examples of everything. And so then when I'm sitting down with them, and it's hey, I want to talk about a product where the agent's in an interview style video where the agent's in there introducing themselves in the home, and then we show some highlights of the house. And so I will have 3 or 4 or 5 examples saved. I have them all kind of saved in the same spot, and then again, based on how that conversation went, then I pull up those samples and I show that to them. And like you just said, you're showing them things that they're excited about. So it becomes this contagious thing. They're excited, you're excited, and all of a sudden you're showing them things they want and they need. And so throughout that whole time, like, oh, it's so cool. I mean, they're literally giving you the buying signals. Again, and that comes down to going back to the initial part of the conversation. You're not going in presenting something. You're waiting to hear what you have that fits their needs. And so if you're showing products that fit their needs, they're going to be excited. And so throughout that whole process, they're going to be giving you, positive buying signals, either like, I really like that, or sometimes they'll just say, I want that, that sort of thing. If they're not super animated, then I'll just simply ask them, like, what are your thoughts on this? Could you see yourself using that? Whatever the case may be. But my ultimate close is a very, very simple one. And I would say I probably use it, honestly, probably every time. And it's just literally, do you have any listings coming up that we can help you with? It's just that simple of a question. And again, keep in mind, these guys are salespeople, or gals, folks are salespeople. And so asking a simple, straightforward question is not going to throw them off. So again, worst case scenario is they may go, not right now. And then again, you say, okay, well, let me touch base and whatever. But even if they say not right now, typically they'll say something along the lines of like, I've got a couple coming up probably next month. And so same thing, you'd be like, all right, well, let me call you at the beginning of the month and see how that's progressing. So you're getting permission to make that next step. And they say yes, so then it makes that next call very easy because you're like, yeah, when last we talked, you told me to give you a call. So
yeah.
But honestly, yeah, that question, do you have any listings coming up that we can help with, is it's the simplest and most straightforward. And then at that point in time, they have to say, no, I don't want your services, which chances are if the meeting went as we described it, that's not going to happen.
Right.
So
I think most people appreciate knowing whether or not something's going to move forward rather than leaving somebody dangling. I would just rather have the straightforward conversation. Look, hey, this just isn't the time for me right now, but thanks. I appreciate somebody being straight with me.
Yeah. And the truth of the matter is that, that part of the conversation probably would have already happened. So they probably would have said no thank you to the meeting. Now I have had meetings where I've gone in there and I've shown the agent, what we had and it didn't fit their needs. But again, same thing. You could kind of tell. It's kind of, as the conversation is going, I'm sitting in my head going, this isn't going to happen today. But again, worst case scenario, you ask their thoughts, you ask for the thing, and then they say, no, thank you. I mean, it's at this point, they're just not, it's going to be very polite and very straightforward, probably more awkward for them than you. But most times, honestly, it's, let me give you a try on one of my next shoots. And that's really, if you're getting to that point, that's chances are that's where you're at.
Yeah, that's such great insight, Chris. And for all of the viewers out there, Chris also gave some great speaking tracks that I know that when I'm in meetings, I like to think about the questions that are going to prompt the client or who I'm in the meeting with. And one that he said is, do you envision yourself using this product? How do you feel about this product or service? I think those are great open-ended questions, again, that are going to get the client to just speak and get information from and take that information and use it. And then finally, the last question, I love that he uses the word help. Can we help you on your next listing? Again, you're not trying to sell them anything. You're not trying to pull the blanket over their eyes. You're trying to help them. And if you have that mentality, then that will be genuine to them. So there's a few small things in there that Chris just does naturally, but they're done for a reason. So just wanted to point out that even if you need to write these questions down so that you can ask them in an appointment, if you're nervous about your first couple appointments, by all means, write it down and just ask the question so that you don't forget it.
Yeah. I think, to be honest with you, like you say that I use that term, I didn't even really notice that I use that term. And because the truth of the matter is I've always just had this attitude, and that's where it goes back into sales. People think of sales as like, I don't know, maybe what you see on movies and things along those lines. And the truth of the matter is that just think of the last time somebody did that to you. You just walked away or got angry at them or whatever. Sales is really about trying to understand what it is and then showing you need this. I have a solution to that problem. And if you don't have a solution to that problem, you're going to be hard pressed to either you need to like, hey, maybe I can create a solution to the problem, or you're just probably not going to be able to help them. So sales isn't about trying to, again, like I said, you're not trying to convince them you want to do this. You're trying to say, this is what you want. This is what I have. Look how they work together. So it is really about, helping them out. And again, these are things they need. It really is it's that simple to me.
Chris Vogue is the Wow Video Tours business development specialist for our Columbus, Ohio market. Chris, man, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this knowledge. We were able to kind of go more into the discussion itself in a meeting with a realtor, and I think this is really good information for those maybe just starting a business or trying to grow it. So thanks for coming on and sharing this.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Chris, if any of our viewers want to get a hold of you, how can they contact you?
Honestly, the easiest way to reach me would be to give me a call. That's 614-420-4574. Or they could email me, and that's Chris, CHRIS, at wowvideotours.com.
So as we wrap this up, Chris, I asked Larry this question last week. It's kind of an open-ended question, but if you were to talk to a new real estate photography and videography business owner, what is one piece of advice that you would give them that you don't typically hear given in the subject of sales or business development?
I don't know if everything that people don't typically hear, but I would say this is kind of a philosophy I have, and it's really kind of a two part. One is don't be afraid of rejection. So if we go back to the cold calling or whatever the case, asking for the list, the sale, or whatever the case may be. If you don't do that, if you don't call that agent, you won't get their business. So the worst case scenario by calling them is nothing changed. But by calling them, you're increasing the odds of getting that opportunity to earn their business. The biggest thing, though, is obviously I talk about what you can control. So you can't control the market being insane and realtors trying to save a buck because they know the home will sell tomorrow. That all is changing, but you can't control that. You can't control if a realtor is old school and wants to do things, the way they did it 20 years ago. That's out of your control. The only thing that you can control is your actual activity. So, the business is a numbers game. So what you can control is making those phone calls, reaching out to those agents, meeting with those agents, getting to know these people. That's what you can control. And then if you do that enough times, everything else is just going to fall in line because, again, you will have agents that'll say, no, thank you. They're happy with somebody else or whatever the case may be. But if you ask enough and you meet with enough people, you will start to see people, let's make this happen. So the big thing is, hey, I can't control the fact that I didn't get a hold of that agent, but I can call that agent again in a few days or a few weeks or whatever the case may be and try again. That's what you can control. So the biggest thing is your activity is going to directly result in your sales.
Good stuff. Todd, any final thoughts?
I think there's so much value in there. And I know for me, sometimes I try to complicate sales, but it's not complicated. It's just as Chris said. And if anything, I a lot of times just have to get out of my own head and make the call, do the work, and you'll see the numbers change.
Just simply sit down, make those calls. And after a few phone calls, you'll start to see like, oh, this isn't so bad. It's really just is. It's just again, it's a numbers game, and you can make it happen. It's all on you.
And I think excitement builds when you start to get those yeses. It just spurs you on to keep going after it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, again, Chris Vogue, our guest this week, as we talk about networking with realtors one-on-one and building your business. Chris, again, thanks so much for being a part of the podcast this week. If you want to be a part of the podcast by asking a question, a business-related question that you have about your business doing real estate photo and video, feel free to drop us an email. You can email us at hello@spiro.media, or you can contact myself directly at craig@spiro.media. And you can also stop by our website. It's just spiro.media. We keep it simple for you. Todd, Chris, thanks so much. And we'll see you again next week, Todd.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey, have a good one, guys.
Until next week, enjoy what you've been blessed with and take a breath.
Thank you for joining us for the Spiro Podcast, Managing Your Real Estate Photography and Videography Business. This is a production of Spiro and Wow Video Tours. You can find out more about Spiro's real estate media business management software at our website, spiro.media.